Well, it was about this time of year in the spring in high school. You've probably heard this story before. This is my version. It was a warm summer day. Almost, you know, summer was around the corner. School would be out in just a couple weeks. And all the high school students were sitting in their math chairs, you know, with their feet up on the seat in front of them. They were kind of dozing off into the sun. They were getting ready for Mr. Boren Bunker, their math teacher. As usual, you know, he would put something up on the blackboard and they'd have to decipher what he was trying to teach them. He came in and he already had on his desk a clock. And he kind of looked at him and he reached out underneath and he brought out a big old pickle jar. Remember the ones when you were a kid in a mom and pop shop? Had the pickles in there with that old murky, gurky water, you know, and they'd stick tongs if they didn't know you, but if they knew you, they might just pull their sleeve up and reach down and grab you a big old dill pickle, you know, the kind that made your face just pucker right up. Well, this was that kind of jar, but this jar was clean. It was clean, and he looked into the jar, and he reached out underneath, and he had a bag of marbles, you know, like you'd use in elementary school. You know, you'd draw a circle in the dirt, and you'd shoot the marbles, you know, that kind, playing marbles, and he just dumped them in the jar. Well, they all got out their paper because they figured that it was time to start figuring out volume. And as they were figuring it out, he asked them, he said, students, would you say that this jar is empty or full? And all the students, you know, they all said, full, full. You know, they all agreed. Okay. And he reached out underneath that cover again, and he pulled out a big basket of pebbles. You know, like you'd see at the beach. You know, nice, smooth, ocean-worn type pebbles. He shook a little bit, and all them pebbles fell in between the marbles. And again, he looked at the students who were trying to figure out volume on their paper, looking at this, and he said, would you say the jar's full now? And all their hands went up. Of course it's full, Mr. Bunker, of course it's full. And he reached in again. This time he pulled out a little plastic pail of sand, you know, like you would use when you're digging a little castle on the beach. And he dumped the sand into that pickle jar. And it filled the jar up. Well, the students are scratching their head now. Hard enough to figure volume with marbles and pebbles, but how in the heck do they figure the grain of sand? And one of the students looked up and goes, Mr. Bunker, I just don't get it. What are we doing? Mr. Bunker looked at him and said, that's right. What are we doing? And he went on. Well, this time, they were really just totally confused when he brought out 2 cups of coffee. And the jar was totally full. And he looked and he said, is it full now? And they all laughed. Of course it was full now. It was filled all the way up. Mr. Bunker looked and he said, I want you all to know that in a couple of weeks, some of you are going to graduate, some of you are going to come back next year. And it's hard to figure out what you're going to do with your lives, for the summer or for the rest of your life. You know, there's some things that are really important, like your job and your parents. You know, your family. Might even be your car that's important, or your lobster boat. Everybody has different levels of importance, and that's the marbles in this jar. In your life, those big things are the marbles, the important things that you don't really want to play around with. You need to have them. And of course, if you lost one, you'd really be in a pickle, wouldn't you? Because you wouldn't want to lose your marbles. And he said, and the pebbles? Well, the pebbles are those other things. You know, maybe that job that's not so important, or that social group that you like to hang out with, but you could skip it if you needed to. That's the pebbles in your life. Things that you might do without if you had to do without. And of course the sand is things that you don't even need at all. You know, those are those petty little things about, well, really, what time is it? Am I running late or short? And is that the right color? And Do I have to plan my college career now, or can I think about my date this Friday? Everybody's sand is as different as their pebbles and their marbles. And the sand is just filler. And like the sand in an hourglass, it too passes with time. It isn't as important down the line. So as you get ready to move on with your lives, I want you to remember the important things in your life and remember those marbles. One of the students raised their hand and said, "But Mr. Bunker, I don't understand. What was the 2 cups of coffee for?" And Mr. Bunker smiled. No matter how busy you get, my friends, you always have time for a couple cups of coffee among friends. I wanted to dedicate this piece tonight to the people that came here because this is their important marbles, and also to the people that are observing important holidays for themselves that didn't come today because those are their important marbles. You see, we all choose our own marbles. We can play with our friends' marbles, but don't you dare try to organize or prioritize them. That's up to them.